Hey there, welcome to Rusty's No Man's Sky channel. We're going to do Poison Planet 3. In this episode, we're getting more salvage data, get a little bit of base improvements, and we spend nearly an hour working towards installing a warp drive on our starship. So, here we go. And we've just picked up that salvage data that we were looking at the end of last episode. Picking up some more. If you look at the bottom left, you'll see that my run indicator and my jetpack indicator run through a lot of energy fairly quickly. It takes a little longer for the run indicator to run out. I become exhausted. It turns red and I have to wait a little bit before I can run some more. Every once in a while you'll see that I will basically punch as well as run, this is when I hit the jump pack. Alright. Need some nano-clusters this time. Maybe? Nope, I guess not. Oh, there they are. Alright. You have to sometimes wait a bit before you get out of it. Alright. Yeah, I think I was concerned I've got a full pack. Yep, I don't have any place for the nothing found in that box. The red backpack, it means I don't have any available slots to store anything in. The jetpack recharges on its own. You see the line going up for that. It goes down as we're using it. And now... Alright. Then we've crossed 10,000 views. 10,000 steps, maybe? Recovery. Recharge oxygen. Got one of those, so let's use that. Let's use some of that stuff. Sodium nitrate gives you better performance in your suit than sodium does. And it's an improvement even over the fact that it takes half as much. Basically, the sodium turns into half as much in sodium nitrate. So basically, 2 sodium becomes 1 sodium nitrate. You get even better results than that when using it. It's like a normal sodium full load is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 sodium, whereas a full load of sodium nitrate is like 10 to 15 of that. Yes, we've got a long ways to go to our base. 600 U, it says. We'll get there. There's our neighbor, the observatory. And here's our reminder that we need to investigate this space station. Follow the footsteps of the base computer's previous owner. It's a little larger in the screen now, or much closer. We're only about 80 U away. Suppose we could count steps to see, but since I do enough of the back or jump hacking to get there, that probably doesn't make much difference. Alright. Oh, that's right, I need some sodium. Or I need something over here. I know that there's some damaged machinery as well off this direction. I don't think we can get to it, but... well, maybe we're going to do that. Let's go hit the damaged machinery. Some more nanites. And we need sodium. We got the nanites before. Oh, they're there. Here are the nanites. Okay. There are more of those around, and we'll pick them up eventually. So we're back to base. Step inside. This is an alternative way of improving our hazard protection. Okay, we've got a solar panel now. And pick up battery. And that's all we're going to grab at this time. Probably could have picked up some building material, but I think we'll do fine without it at this point. Alright. I don't want to put that there. That's not what I was looking to put up. I want to put up one of those. And for that, I'm going to need metal plating, carbon nanotubes, and a little more sodium. So I need to go get some more sodium. Where do we have some sodium? That's oxygen. There's some sodium and some oxygen too. Since the oxygen's on the way, let's go ahead and grab it. Okay, we got sodium. As I said, there is more damaged machinery all over the place. You can do repairs later. Okay, let's take a look again. Alright, we still need metal plating and carbon nanotubes. Alright. So. Let's put in a carbon nanotube here.
Constructed. Toxic protection falling.
Can't put anything in there. Those are technology only, so let's drop a metal plate here.
Product constructed.
And set it down. There we go. Now we need to install a biofuel reactor. How about that? That's going to be in. Oh, this is not in building. We need to go into technology. There we go. Yeah, it's not there. That's kind of in the way. How about over here? Yeah. And it needs metal plating as well, so let's make one of those. It also needs oxygen, which we've got. Now we need to wire them up. Biofuel needs some fuel, and it takes either carbon or oxygen or condensed carbon. It may take others as well, but we're just going to give it some carbon, and that will get it running. And we're done with that, powering the base. It's not the powering the base that I would like, but it's something. Alright, so now we put on a battery. Hook it up. I tend to like to hook up to a common interface. Alright, now how about putting in a solar panel? Oh yeah, I already know I need gold for a solar panel, so let's bring in my starship where I put the gold. And let's see, what else do I need? Metal plating, chromatic metal. I've got about less than half the chromatic metal I need. And, you know, we've got this other mission to do, so I'm not going to bother with the solar panel yet. We'll do that later. Let's see what we can do here. Interstellar detection wavelength offline, local transmission station call sign online. So, but network is restricted to in-system teleportation, and it looks like we don't have any destinations to go to yet, and no power. Alright, well, we've got a space station to go to. Let's head over. Fly. Flying can be fun. We've got plenty of fuel, so be good there. Space station entries are usually closest to the planet that they're closest to. The ramp up of the background music is high. Now, the first thing I do almost every space station, if I remember it, is to pop over here, pick up the spacesuit slot. I spend 5,000 units, of which we've got 19 at the moment, so 5,000 units spent at that slot. So now we've got that extra one more slot in the suit for putting things in. That doesn't seem like a lot at the moment, but there are a total of 48 possible general slots. Oh, we've got a shuttle over there and a 48-8 hauler. Doesn't look much like 48-8 for my experience, but I'm not going to argue with it. It is what it is. The cargo and general slot, or general portions of the suit will take 48 slots each. The technology will take up to 14 slots, I believe. Doesn't know anything about other travelers. Okay. Puffs themselves up as I approach, making the most of their impressive size. I'll ask about 16. Hearing the code seems to cause the life form to shrink. A look of fear crosses their face, and then an instant, the fear passes. Okay, so apparently he's not the person I need to talk to. Monik, despite their size, the alien does not seem aggressive. But when I blink, red sphere appears. We are watching, traveler, friend. Find what we have left you. Though the alien speaks, the words are not their own. The string of code is echoed back to me through the red light. The crimson light fades away, and I see the life form glaring at me. Whatever just happened, he doesn't seem to remember it. Should leave. Perhaps the base computer will be able to figure us out. Alright. Let's go wander around. I'll go take a look at the weapons terminal in the space station. See how what's there compares to what I've got, if it does. Alright, is a refill. That can be refilled. Now normally, or later on, I'll be hitting all of those cubicles for navigation data. It's a nice looking multi-tool, considering that it's where I'm starting from, but I don't have the money for it, and so we'll hold off on buying that. And over to the starship. Now that we've got this data, let's go ahead and make a save. Jump into the starship and immediately jump back out. And now we've got a restore point. So if we need to, we can recover. If something goes horribly wrong, we can at least go back to this starting point and start over, or start from there. Let's learn a little bit of language here. Let's dialect help. And they're proud to give us a blank symbol. And we learned the word for thee. And I request dialect help from him as well. Symbol. Teaches me a word in their language. There's the word for give. And he's proud as well. Gives me a word in the language. Death. Now we've already seen that guy. So how about the scout? And request dialect help. Friendship symbol. Learn word for help. And yeah, traces of fear. He's not going to be useful. Visited. Visited. And Viking symbol. Gra. Alright. Let's pop over. We just passed 5 words. Now let's talk to this guy. Yeah, he's going to ask us who's the more likely to win on a battle. Oh, we're going to point to the Viking, of course. And we end up with a scanner module, as well as some nanites. And improved standing with the Viking. Okay. Picked up some nanites over there in one place, and on any Viking station, you should find nanites in both that room and this room over here. And they'll be in this container. And it doesn't look like there's anything there, but there is. Alright. Back out. And okay, we've got this new scanner module. Let's rearrange things so that we can actually make better use of that. Alright, so now we've got those 2 scanner modules linked up, and actually that's not where I was looking or thinking, but that'll do for now. Terrain manipulator didn't even need to change places, but that's fine. Now, they work that way. Fine for now. And what have I been doing flying? Back to the space station. Because I've got a teleporter set up at my base station, so there should be a teleporter, right? Let's head over here and get check with the suit specialist and see if he's got any modules that might be useful to us. Now he's not the one to get suit or multi-tool modules, but let's see what we can do. It looks like we can't afford any of the S or A class modules, but we can get a B or a C, so let's see what we can do. I'd like to get a couple of things here. Mobility, movement module, yep. And a little bit of additional protector shielding. Life protection module, I think. Not thermal, life support.
Product received.
And each of these cost us nanites, so we're down to 192 or some. We'll see that again in a moment here. We've got those 2 modules. We should probably install them real quick. And I'd like to move them together, or keep them together if I can. So let's move this one over there. And I want this to go with my life support down here, so let's move the sodium up out of the way. And there. Alright. And you may have noticed that my thrusters run a little bit longer now. My jetpack. And we take the teleport back to our base. Base. We're back at our base. Jillian Delta. Alright. We've got our base computer. And let's begin decryption of the data that we just got from the space station. Decoding 16. What's the 16s, huh? Message follows. Traveler finds their wings, fly to us, and claim your place among the stars. Okay. Hey. Signal detected. Okay, well. Up there. Okay. Well, let's hop aboard the Radiant Pillar. And let's head off. Got this possible distress signal to investigate. Space here. I don't need that in my day-to-day carry. I should probably let the tritium over too, but we'll leave it there for now. And yes, we have 2 of these refiners, one at the base and one in our backpack at the moment. If I remember right, somewhere along the line I do end up setting down the refiner and forgetting it, but it's not critical. It takes 40 ferrite dust to make the metal plate necessary for making a refiner, so we're good. Alright. Again, there's one of our pillars for landing zones. If you land in a landing zone, you don't use any fuel to come back up. And we'll do a quick scan here. What I'm looking for is what the status of the world itself is. It's radioactive, and there are not a lot of sentinels. Those are the main things I'm worried about there. Log damaged. Partial records are available. Signal has led me to the wreck of a freighter. Colossal fragments of metal scattered across the landscape. Were these messages nothing but the misfiring of circuits Also among the debris, I find the pilot's log, blinking, waiting input. Read log. Instead of displaying the ship's log, the terminal spits out a strange sequence of numbers. They are followed by, etc. The only comes from the stars. Take flight. A schematic of the hyperdrive is attached to the end of the message. Take blueprint. I pull the blueprint from the computer, but this hyperdrive is for a conventional starship, not a freighter of this size. Some place this here after the crash, hoping it will be found. So we've got a blueprint for a hyperdrive. It takes chromatic metal and copper. Or no, chromatic metal and sodium. We'll see. Oh, circuit boards. Microcircuits, actually. 5 of those. So, there's the radiant pillar. We can get on with an X, or let's go ahead and pop over here. Radiant pillar has 4 spots available for just for technology. So, it needs microprocessors and chromatic metal, neither of which I have in abundance. It looks like I need 95,000 units and I have 14,459. Well, let's check first for some cargo here. And that needs pure fireite and copper. If there's some audio alignment, my apologies. Recording broke as I was doing this, so I had to start over. Alright, looking for some copper. So I need copper for that. And I also need copper to so there's some copper there's some more copper. Yeah, it looks like it's closer. I need copper to make chromatic metal for that warp drive. So cargo pods around. There's an unknown building up there, which we'll see in a little bit because there's other stuff up there as well. Alright. One observation is that the scanner is variable range. Just because something is in range for the scanner doesn't mean everything is. So for example, we see buildings out a lot farther than we see for example, salvage technology. Salvage technology looks like we've got a range of about 350 units on, but buildings can be anywhere out to 500 years. Things you don't know until you get to the deposit is how large it's going to be. This looks a little small, and it's a lot smaller than some of the deposits that we deal with, but it's it also goes about as deep as some of the rest of them, so we end up getting a fair amount of copper out of it, just not as much as we get out of some of the other copper deposits.
Technology recharge.
Scanned that creature before. Huh. We've been on this planet in the past. And we have. This is this planet where we picked up the blueprint for the base computer and stuff. So there, we got it. Inventory of what we've got. Okay. Not a lot of sodium or sodium nitrate. Maybe enough copper for what we need. We'll see. If not, we've still got to deal with that unit requirement for microcircuits. Yes, that gave us some damage. Alright, a warp cell. Well, that'll be handy. Alright. Well, let's pop out a little bit.
Radiation protection.
Get that over here anyway. Still need chromatic metal and microprocessors. And for chromatic metal, we're going to need copper again. Actually, we need the other deposit that was over there. That one's almost 1,000 units away, so let's pop over and take a look. Need it this time, but we may need it yet today. And yeah, moving to the overhead that wasn't there when we started. That copper deposit looks like an archer. Now, one of the things I should have done was immediately put down a refiner and continue from or set the refiner to processing some of the chromatic or the copper I already had into chromatic metal, but that's not what I did. Scanned around and ultimately said, okay, let's go ahead and mine the copper. Some oxygen too. This doesn't look nearly as large as it seemed to when we were looking at it earlier, or as we were flying in, but it is what it is. Decided I wanted a place to stand where I would be kind of not prone to falling immediately. 125 chromatic metal, and I've got 101 something copper, or 201 something copper. So I might have enough chromatic metal, but or enough copper for chromatic metal. But it might be a good idea to head off. Oh, wait a minute, unknown grave? These are always a good thing to visit because, or as long as we're in the entry level of this game. Because they tend to mean, okay, this curious deposit. Can get some stuff from them, but okay. We're going to fly over to that unknown grave. Notice that the grave seems to be in the middle of a depression. My suspicion is that when a traveler dies, a whole lot of energy is left. Alright. The Sentinels. What are the Sentinels? Where do they come from? It made it my life's work to find left logs, records across boards. The fallen traveler's grave is marked by a glyph, an epitaph of some ancient technology. If I obtain a glyph with the ability to travel to unknown worlds. Leave the fallen traveler in peace. Yeah, there's copper, there's copper. Those are the two that we've been to. Uranium, damaged machinery, salt, etc. Well, there's some bird technology. Let's run off and get that. Maybe we'll be able to see the copper a little bit easier once we get that. Alright.
Technology recharge. Technology recharge. Radiation protection falling.
Alright. Now we'll scan again. So we ended up with 2 salvage data this time. Alright. There's uranium. Uranium. Strawberry. Uranium. Salt. Salt. Copper. Uranium. Damaged machinery. Copper. Salt. Salt. Damaged machinery. Salt. Alright. the reason to go for the salt is that it is one of the more heavily valued or highly valued items as far as trade. We can make from salt a substance called chlorine, and that's even more highly related, but at the level that we're looking for right now, just getting salt is fine. Remember, we need to get 95, or have a total of 95 units worth of stuff. Floating crystals are nice, but not going to go looking for them. Okay, that's cocked. Those two of those were right next to each other, so that third one might be useful. Or maybe that one. Let's see. Let's go take a look over at this one. It's 310 units away. Worst it could be is a dry hole. Morning wake-up music. Okay, yep, this is the dry hole. So we're going to go on. We've got another copper deposit over there. Maybe it's another dry hole. Nope, that's a larger deposit. And yeah, I did not, I got the rusted metal, didn't investigate what else was in that container. Either that or I missed it being posted. Charge completed. Trying manipulate completed. Fortunately, it takes sodium or the silicate dust as a power source, so I don't need to make quite as much of it. Alright.
Technology recharge.
Another salt deposit. Well, if I'm going to be turning off to the side, so that's a grobberry right there. Let's head over here. We've got this. There we are. Knowledge stone. And it's not less than the distance to the salt deposit, so let's go pick it up. There it is. Every planet in the game has dihydrogen on it. So we're never really short on dihydrogen. Well, we may be short, but we're never in a position where it can't be found. Additionally, there are some techniques for converting it. As you can tell, my jetpack is in much better shape now. After getting that jetpack, or that module installed. It can also run a lot, although that's not quite as obvious. And now we're up to 19,000 units that we've got out of the 95, but that doesn't include the copper or the salt. So one of the things you can do when mining like this is if you hold or press down on your left joystick, you can get this grid of what your mining is, so you can mine it more effectively. At least that's the theory. I'm afraid my experience is that you get grid parts showing up in places where it doesn't really seem to make sense for them to be there anymore. But it also seems to obstruct the view a little bit. Now I've got 111,000 units worth of salt.
Radiation protection falling.
And we're almost out of carbon. So we need to see about getting some carbon. An unidentified mineral. Get 200 units for that. And we got some unidentified plants. 14,000 units for that. I mean, that would have been a nice way to boost the cache that we had on hand initially. Unidentified. Yeah, that was unidentified. Let's see if I can see any more of it. Wait a minute, we got these things over here. They probably have some value too. 14,000 units for that? Okay. And they're larger, so they probably have more carbon in them. And these have nitrogen as a secondary. Right. We'll get enough carbon to charge up and run that refinery yet. Yes, that's an unidentified mineral. Okay. Charge my... tech. I need more sodium. Let's collect the rest of this carbon off this one anyway. Another unidentified planet. We just crossed 75,000 units, so we became a space trucker. We need to get some nitrogen. Not nitrogen, sodium. Let's see, let's toss more carbon in here. Give it all of the copper we've got. Kick that off. Alright. That's going to take a little bit of time. Not a lot, but some. So let's look for some... Okay, there's some sodium. That's a sodium crystal. Yeah, I can't... I need a different mining resource or tool. That. Alright. Alright. A couple of them down there. Plant. Alright. Violet plant. Okay. Some sodium in. Is there a road somewhere? There's some there. And it's the side of something. Oh. Lots over here somewhere. You can get some sort of a feel for where, how close you are to certain resources based upon how the train ahead of you moves. You remember that building we saw earlier? There it is. It's a drop pod. Unfortunately, once we get into a drop pod, we need some stuff that we don't have at this point. We need antimatter, and we won't even find out about get antimatter this episode. That was useless.
Radiation protection falling.
Creatures do run away from us when we're...
Technology recharge.
And yes, I did walk away from the carbon crystals, so I was just immediately over. That's carbon. Alright. Let's see if we've got everything, and if so, pop here. Blow this popsicle stand. all the copper's been converted, so let's get that in the exosuit. And we've got space. Alright. Let's have our ship show up and grab fix the chromatic metal portion. Alright. Pick up our refiner. We end up dropping one later that never see again, so fortunately I've made more launch fuel, so let's get out of here.
Technology recharge.
Back to space station. Can't use the pulse engine until we get out into space. There we go. Or up to the clouds at least. Much less of the salt now than we would have. We've got 121,000 units worth, or 111,000 units worth, because we've got 75,000 units from scanning creatures and stuff. Oh, we ran out of fuel. Better pick up some tritium here. If we can. Some gold. Silver. There's some tritium. Jet fuel. Notice that we have a couple of options for pulse jets fuel. Get a little bit more.
Technology recharge. That turns into gold. Hyper cluster turns into tritium. And again, the opening is on the face closest to the. It should be closest to the planet closest to it. Often you can see the planet looking out. This time I think we're going to do off axis to it. So yes, we see some deep space. Alright, let's go back here to my favorite spots to wait for starships.
first guy in. Second guy's further away, so let's go to the first guy. And we'll get him some business. Sell him some stuff. And somewhere in here we've got some salt. So let's sell him all the salt. So 190,000 units. Let's unload some other stuff. We're going to buy some microprocessors. And he does have tritium, so keep that in mind in the future. You can buy tritium from some of the guys. And we also need some wiring loom. Yep. Leave. Alright. I think it turns out we need more wiring looms than that, but... Alright, we're about to wrap up here. As soon as we're done installing the warp drive, we're finishing up the warp drive, we'll be done with this episode, pretty much. If you've enjoyed, I do appreciate likes. If you want some more, or to see more of this, do a follow and turn on the announcements, and we'll be providing you with more episodes. I've got another 3 episodes in the can, and we'll be putting together episodes next week as well. If you want me to do just the first 15 minutes or so of getting to and fixing up the starship, because all of this is good, we can work on that. I can set that up and just do those types of episodes for each of the habitats or environments that we end up in, or that we maybe start in. Otherwise, I will probably see you tomorrow. We've got more to do. Thank you for watching. Again, this is Rusty's No Man's Sky channel, and I appreciate all of your feedback, and I thank you for watching.